Hello, it's Shanna and welcome to my channel. I'm glad you stopped by. Today I'm going to be working with the Simon Says Retro Flowers stencil. I just got my kit in the mail and I was excited to get it, and so I've decided that I'm going to just stencil an A2 size panel. I'm using my Distress Oxides. I'm using mustard seed here on the first layer, and I'm also using the crackling campfire to add some dimension to it as well. Just kind of hitting the center areas of that. And then I'm just pulling it off, and for the layer 2 that does the leaves, I am going to use my Shabby Shutters for my lightest color. And then I'll be using pine needles to darken up the stems and add a little bit of dimension to my leaves and my stems. Just cleaning my brush off and coming back around with my Shabby Shutters again, just to kind of make a better blend. And then on my third layer, this is the additional flowers. I decided to use the crackling campfire and just lay down some ink with that. And then I decided to bring back in my mustard seed just to kind of lighten it up and add a little bit of dimension to it as well. And then on the final layer, which is the centers of the flowers, I am using the Rusty Hinge, and I'm coming back in with the Vintage Photo to just make some definition on that. And that pretty much completes my panel. I did speed it up because it does take a while to do some ink blending. And I just thought it would be too long of a video if I did not do that. So there's my finished panel. And I've decided that I'm going to use the Sending Love sentiment from the stamp set. It says Sending Love and Sunshine. It comes from the Be Happy stamp set that comes in this kit. And so I'm just pulling it out, and I'm going to use my Misty to get this stamp down. And this is the first time I've used this stamp set, so I've got to kind of prepare the stamp for receiving the ink. So you'll see once I get that laid down that I'll do some rubbing on it and prepare the stamp. Now on this I tried to do a little different technique. I wanted my sentiment to kind of have the colors of the stenciled panel in it and not just one color. So I start out, well, first of all, I'm kind of getting that stamp ready. And then I start out, I think I bring in the Vintage Photo, and I just use my blending brush, excuse me. No, it looks like I start out with Crackling Campfire. No, I'm going to start out with the mustard seed. I go from the back of the stamp to the front. So I'm starting out with a mustard seed, and I'm just using my blending brush. And then I'm going to bring in the Crackling Campfire and kind of do the middle of that stamp set with my blending brush and just try to get good coverage on it. And then finally, I'm going to bring in the Vintage Photo and use the blending brush for that as well. And that way I just kind of have a blending of colors on this stamp set. And because it's a new stamp, it does take me, I don't know, 2 or 3 times to stamp it. Now, normally I don't do a voiceover, but I had a free moment today while both the boys, my grandsons, were sleeping. And I was able to actually make this panel and make this card, but I wasn't really talking through it because I wanted to be quiet while I was doing it so that they would remain sleeping. When you get those rare moments when they both go to sleep, you want to be quiet and hopefully they'll both stay asleep. So that's why I'm doing a voiceover, which I don't normally do. I normally just turn on the video and kind of talk through it. But you'll see I stamped this, I don't know, 3 or 4 times to get a good amount of coverage. So this takes a bit of time. I'm coming back in with a Crackling Campfire because I think I was pretty happy with the Vintage Photo color on there. But I felt like the sunshine part, the Crackling Campfire and the mustard seed, needed a little bit more color. And I've got my window open, so that's why you're hearing cars outside the window. It's such a beautiful day. We've had just such extreme heat and humidity here, and yesterday it took a turn for the better, and so we're enjoying having the house opened up for a little bit and getting some fresh air. So I think I'm continuing to press on this to try and get a good stamping. So I think I'm finally satisfied with this, and you can see I've just went from brown to red to yellow, and I think that looks good. Now I'm bringing in the embossing folder, which is the crisscross floral embossing folder that comes in this Be Happy kit. And I'm going to take this green panel, and this was just some green that I had in my stash, and I'm going to emboss this so that I can lay a green panel down and then lay my stenciled panel on top of it. Just trying to get it lined up. And I will tell you, if you use the Spellbinders, you can just use the backer sheet for the embossing folder and put it right on your platform. You don't need any plates or any shims. You can just use the backer plate to the embossing folder, the piece of cardboard that comes in there with the name of the embossing folder, and that'll give you enough pressure on that embossing folder to get a real good design. Now I've cut my panel down. I think I cut it down to 3 3/4 by 5 is what I cut it down to, so that I have a nice little edge on there. And then I didn't put my card base together yet, which normally I do that first and lay my panels on there, but so I'm just coming back in and scoring a top folding A2 size card with my Score Buddy, and then I'll just use my Barely Art glue to get it laid down on there and get my card ready. And you can see the deboss side is just equally as beautiful, but I think it's really a very pretty embossing folder, and this is the first time I used it. I just got the kit over the weekend. I think it even came in on Sunday. My husband brought it into the house on Sunday because I had people over for dinner and we were actually looking at the kit together. So this is my first chance to get to work with it, so I'm excited. I'm sure I'm going to make lots of different things with the kit, and I'm really excited to have it. So there I've got the panel laid down. I'm just trying to get it straightened up and lined up. I think I had it a little bit crooked. And I think as I look at it, maybe I got it crooked on the first panel, and that's kind of what threw me off. But I trimmed up the edge of the card there where my thumb is, and it's sticking out a little bit. And then there's my sentiment. I laid it on that same green cardstock, and I just cut an edge around it. And I want to pop it up because this is a really flat card. There's not a lot of dimension other than the embossing folder that it's laying on. So I'm just going to use two strips of this, I don't know, I think this is Hobby Lobby foam tape that I picked up at the store, and get this popped up. Using my anti-stick scissors. I like those. I picked those up at Michael's. And then just making sure it's laid down good. I like to use the 2-in-1 tool just to help get the peel-off strip started because I have trouble doing that with my fingernails. And then just getting this laid down on there. So sending sunshine and brighter days is what my sentiment says, and I think it looks nice. And at this point I think I'm finished with the card, but then I sit there for a minute and I think it's, you know, doesn't have a lot of dimensions. So I decided to go ahead and ink blend a panel with the mustard seed, and I just brought in my blending brush that I had used and put some down. I used my Memento black ink and I stamped this little bee out, and then off camera I decide that I'm going to fussy cut it out. I wanted to save time on the video, so I just did it off camera. Just took my Cricut scissors, which are my precision scissors, and fussy cut it out. And then I'm also pulling in these scrapbook adhesive foams that was included in there, and they're really very thinly, has a very thin dimension on there, smaller than what I'm used to. But I thought I'd just stick that little bumblebee up there and just add a little bit more dimension. So that finishes my card off. Thanks for watching, and please consider giving me a thumbs up. Bye-bye.